This year, Election Day is on November 5th. There aren't any governors, senators, or congresspeople on the ballot. This is a municipal election year. But if you live in New Haven, you're probably well aware of this, as the New Haven mayoral race has made some pretty big headlines. For those unfamiliar, Mayor Toni Harp was challenged by Justin Elicker in a Democratic Party primary last month. Although Harp was an incumbent, endorsed by the Working Families Party and the expected winner, Elicker managed to defeat her handily. But that's not where the story ends. Connecticut has what is known as electoral fusion voting. That means that multiple political parties can run the same candidate simultaneously. For example, in Connecticut last year, Bob Stefanowski was featured on both the Republican Party and the Independent Party's lines, whereas Ned Lamont was featured on both the Democratic Party and Working Family Party's lines. As we've discussed before, voting for third parties can split the vote and create situations where one candidate wins with only a sliver of the actual votes. In theory, electoral fusion voting allows voters to send a message to politicians without inducing the spoiler effect. This brings us back to New Haven. As I mentioned, Toni Harp won the Working Family Party's endorsement before losing the Democratic primary. While her opponent, Elicker, will appear on the Democratic Party's ballot line, Harp will still appear on the Working Family Party's line. And because there's no Republican or third-party candidates in the race, Harp and Elicker are the only two mayoral candidates who will appear on next month's ballot. That's given hope to a group of Harp supporters who call themselves the People's Campaign for Toni Harp. Their victory, however, is still far from certain. Harp is now considered a long-shot candidate, and no post-primary polling exists to give any reason to doubt that. I spoke with both Emma Jones, one of the People's Campaign organizers, as well as Justin Elicker himself to learn more about this contentious race. I started by asking Jones about why she and others in the People's Campaign have refused to give up after Harp's primary loss.
You know, I'm all about people winning. May the best person win. May the person win who put forth their best effort and they do the right thing. But if you have to win by scandalizing people and putting people down and doing things that reaches the level of inhumanity, indecency, I have a problem with that. Mr. Elicker, why don't you tell us what's your qualification to be a mayor? What is your experience? What do you bring to this city that we do not already have? And what can you bring that is so much better than what we already have? When you start talking to intelligent people and having that kind of conversation, I'm interested. You can do it better? You have a better plan?
When I spoke with Justin Elicker, the Democratic nominee for mayor, I asked him what his reaction had been to the People's Campaign. Here's what he told me.
I think it's not surprising. We have a city of 130,000 people, and New Haven is a place where we have very lively conversations about the direction the city should head in, very lively politics. And at the end of the day, with so many people involved and passionate about the city's direction, you're just likely to have some people that handle the outcome of an election in a very different way than others. I do think when we step back from everything, the overwhelming majority of people that are involved in politics in New Haven, and those that aren't but voted, have not only expressed an opinion through their voting about the direction that they want New Haven to head in, but also about, after the election, how we head in that direction.
Just to be clear, Toni Harp's official campaign has been suspended since September 25, and her campaign did not return requests for comment. However, on October 9th, according to Yale Daily News, Harp told supporters at an appreciation event, "I just want you to know that I'm still on the ballot. If you want me to be your mayor, then you've got to vote for me." She pointed attendees to line 1C, where she will appear on November's ballot as the Working Family Party's candidate. Elicker told me that whether Harp wants to stay in the race is entirely her decision, but that she should stay consistent with whatever she chooses.
It's her decision whether she wants to keep her name on the ballot or remove her name from the ballot. And I, unlike some other Democrats, I do not disparage her at all for keeping her name on the ballot. I think the issue is that Mayor Harp has said very publicly that she's going to suspend her campaign, and she's chosen not to remove her name from the ballot. But then she has done a number of things that indicate that she's continuing the campaign, and that creates a confusing dynamic for New Haven voters. It creates a confusing dynamic for city employees who don't quite have a lot of certainty around their future. And it also doesn't allow us to move beyond the election and look forward. At the same time, that's a question for Mayor Harp more than it is for me.
Emma Jones told me that one of the primary reasons the People's Campaign for Toni Harp opposes Justin Elicker is due to his negative campaigning, including a series of advertisements his campaign sent by mail. In them, the Elicker campaign used newspaper headlines to attack Harp's record, including one that some say implies that Harp was responsible for drug issues on the New Haven Green.
The number of people that overdosed on the Green? Give me a break. People are overdosing all across the country. I'd like to know, what is Mr. Elicker's plan to prohibit people from getting high? And people been getting high and overdosing in this country for as long as I can remember. And certainly, Mr. Elicker, after the 60s, there was so much drugs in every single municipality that it was pathetic. And I have never, ever in my lifetime heard of any mayor being accused of being responsible for the overdose. That was wrong.
I reviewed them and rejected a number of them and approved the ones in the end that went out. And I stand by that. I think they were fair. And on that specific question, New Haven has faced challenges with inappropriate activity on the New Haven Green for years and years and years. And there are many things that we could have done to improve the situation on the Green, to make sure that people that were struggling with substance abuse had better options instead of waiting for this kind of crisis to happen. So as far as the what I characterize as mismanagement of City Hall, we should have been much more proactive at addressing that problem. And I think it's fair to highlight that City Hall could be doing many more things to address substance use.
Earlier in the year, we published a series of videos about Connecticut cities, and I interviewed Mayor Harp. Had I known how controversial this municipal election season would turn out to be, perhaps the interview would have involved more questions about the campaign. Nevertheless, the conventional wisdom is that Elicker will win next month. And since he won the primary and is continuing to run an active campaign, this seems like a likely outcome. But given that only Harp and Elicker will appear on November's ballot, and considering the intensity, if not the numbers, of the People's Campaign, the outcome is anyone's guess.
We are a party, and I feel really good about it because we feel some ownership to this. We feel some ownership to the process. And that's the way that it should be. That's the way a democratic system should work. It should not be a system where a group of people decide this is the candidate we should have, and we're going to support this candidate for this particular reason, and that's it. That's not right for me. And so I don't like it, and I decided we should do something about it. The people should do something. And so the People's Campaign is a collection of all the people who want to be a part of this process.